everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 471. I'm Brian Cohen from the 5-Day Author Ad Profit Challenge, joined by Claire Taylor from FFS Media. Claire, I'm guessing by now that your workshop will probably be sold out for October. We're in the future now. It's impossible to know, but
it is.
I have a good feeling about it.
Well, and if not, and if anyone's interested in going to the Liberated Writer Retreat in sunny Austin, Texas, in October in Austin, Texas is by far the best month to be in Austin, Texas.
I can see that.
Yeah, go to liberatedwriter.com and read about it. If any of my Enneagram stuff has resonated with you, this is like next level, building the career and the life that will sustain you.
I love that. And we hadn't talked about it on the show, but Claire visited with my Pathfinders coaching group. I now coach a small group of authors each year. They're above a certain royalty threshold. And I've been using, Claire visited to talk about Enneagram with all these folks. They'd all taken the test, but the numbers that have shown up for these folks have been so helpful from understanding them from a point of view of a coach. And it's just been so great. And actually my wife recently took the Enneagram and I'm like, well, I already knew you, but yeah, no, that all makes sense. And so that's been really fun. So thank you, Claire, for welcoming the Enneagram into my life.
Yes, I will push it on anyone and everyone that when it seems like I have it in, I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about this now. It's funny. I end up in these conversations with random people where I would just mention it. And then they're like, wait, what did you just say? And then I like do a little, and they're like, oh my gosh. And it turns into these 3-hour conversations where I'm like, oh, okay. So here's why you're doing that. Here's what it's resulting in. Here's how you can start to, it's this whole thing. It's like, now it's a curse. It's a blessing. I like it. I like when people find me. But part of the retreat, for anyone who is worried about it, going, I don't know much about Enneagram, part of what's included is the WEPS test, which is an Enneagram test, and a 30-minute consultation with me prior to the retreat where I make sure that we have your type down. Because sometimes the tests get it wrong for various fascinating reasons that I have been trained in. So you don't have to be. I can help you make sure that you get the right type so that you're moving forward in alignment rather than misalignment. So that's all included in this, along with a lot of other one-on-ones and group sessions and just prep ahead of time so that the 2 days we're together are going to be very productive.
Love it. Love it. Liberatedwriter.com. Even though it's sold out by now, I'm sure.
Probably.
After all that. And then my ad challenge, which can't sell out because we'll take as many people as want to. Authorsadvertise.com starts today, the day that this is released, and you can still jump in there late. It's okay if you do. So, Claire, anything else you want to talk about before we get into last or a previous week's question?
I'm good to go.
All right, let's do this. So we had asked a question, do you have any direct selling tips? And nobody posted anything. I think direct selling's still pretty new. I think I will say that there seem to be two schools of thought out there. Either get people on your list from a freebie and upsell them to something directly, or sell them to something on the ad itself. Those seem to be kind of the different schools of thought that I see in the direct selling world. And I think you need to kind of evaluate what's going to work for your business before you dive in, because there are whole big programs out there kind of that go in either direction. And so you definitely want to do your research before you decide, because it's a big commitment, setting up a whole store, doing all of that. And so just keep that in mind. Since no one answered that question, I wanted to put something out there.
That's a good bit of wisdom. It's like a single French fry of wisdom.
Yeah, I like the French fry of wisdom, the breakfast potato of wisdom.
The tot of wisdom.
Ooh, I like the tot of wisdom so much. But we did have a comment on that week's episode, which was Bill Kokas, who's been with us basically from the beginning, Bill, and we love you, Bill. Said, 22 minutes, a new record. That was our show length. Pretty soon, it will just be the opening and closing theme. Casual listeners might toss around terms like quiet quitting, but I'll hang with y'all no matter how short the show gets. Good info and chemistry regardless. I love that. Was this our quiet quitting, Claire?
No, I don't quiet quit. Just to be clear, I don't quiet quit. I rage quit. So you'll know when I quit.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
I make a scene when it's time to quit, just so everyone knows. No quiet quitting here, all or nothing.
The giraffe will be on the floor with
Oh, you mean my attack giraffe? Yeah, it's got my back.
Yes. No, for sure. So, yeah, I'm really excited that you, Bill, and Anne-Marie and others who've been with us from the beginning are still with us here, and new people finding out about us on our Sell More Book Show YouTube channel, through our various TikToks, through various things. I mean, my TikToks, I know you're chilling with TikTok right now, but people find us, and we're just always excited to have new listeners. And I think we're ready for today's top story.
Ooh, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so here we go. There are ads in my audio. Audible is in the news again with a topic that is very controversial among writers and readers: advertisements within audiobooks. Quote, the company is experimenting with a new system to play audio advertisements within audiobooks. Audible originals and podcasts, reports Good e-readers Michael Kozlowski. The advertisements will not show up for people with an Audible subscription, end quote. Good e-reader reports that the audio ads are currently limited to non-paying members, giving them ad-supported access to a limited set of titles. The ads pop up while listening to traditional audiobooks, podcasts, and Audible original content. Quote, the company says the providers were informed of the change and allowed to opt out of ads, says Kozlowski, noting that a maximum of 8 ads will play within 24 hours, regardless of how much you listen, end quote. Alyssa Myers of Marketing Brew fears that ads in audiobooks could become a thing elsewhere. Quote, Spotify has indicated it might make a similar move one day, says Myers. Last summer, Spotify's chief content officer Dawn Ostroff said during an investor day that Spotify was looking at bringing ad monetization into audiobooks, though it hasn't announced anything official. In a related story, author and forensic accountant Colleen Cross believes that Audible has stolen in excess of $100 million from authors. They advertise a 40% royalty for exclusive titles. The true rate is 21%. For non-exclusive titles, Audible promises 25%, but really pays 13%. So, couple of different things there.
That's a heck of a tack on.
I know. It was a separate story, but I felt like it's very related to putting ads into audiobooks. Audible is trying to recoup some cash, Claire, or so it seems.
Yeah, this is okay. So there's a lot going on here, right?
Yes.
I'm going to start with the commercials, the ads in audiobooks. I will take a very unpopular opinion here because my first response when I hear this is ick. Right. But not everything that we have a response to like that initially is bad.
Yeah.
We are very intellectually evolved humans or species, and we can look at things critically, right? So gut isn't everything. Gut reaction is everything. And I say that because my first response is like, ew, no, don't do that. But I think that this solves a big problem in that the pricing of audiobooks is very, very high outside of, a subscription model. A lot of readers or a lot of listeners want to listen to a lot of audiobooks, but when they're priced very high, it makes it impossible. Or, obviously you can go to the library and listen for free, but a lot of people don't know that. So I think that this solves an interesting problem. I think that this is something that people will get used to very quickly if it starts to roll out. I think authors aren't going to like it. I think that authors need to pay close attention to who is getting paid how much from these ads. And if they're making what they're, owed for ads being stuck in their content. So there are some things to watch out for. But I don't think that this is going to be too big of a thing. I think that podcasts have primed us for this sort of thing. We know you tap that forward 15-second button if you can, it's just part of it. So I don't think that it's going to be too disruptive to listener habits, but I know that authors are going to be outraged, some of them, because clearly some have opted into this.
Yeah. And I think you bring up some really good points with readers who are not necessarily able to afford something unless they have a subscription model. I think about the old, Kindles, the cheaper Kindles are ad supported. You pay less for the device that allows you to download and read books, but you see ads. Every single time you turn off the screen, you see ads on those kind of devices. Podcasts you brought up, podcasts have had ads for a long, long, long time. We've never really had ads, but that
might be to our detriment. Frankly.
I know it probably is, but podcasts have had ads for a long time. So people are pretty used to ads. My daughter, who doesn't have to watch as many ads because she mostly watches her stuff on streaming, she says, I actually kind of like ads. I'm like, okay. I mean, I think it's because she sees toys on those ads.
Oh yeah, those are good ads.
Yeah, those are the best ads. But I feel similarly to you. I think that people would get used to it. I think that what we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on is this a cash grab, or is this actually going to benefit authors in some way?
Yeah, that's what we need to keep an eye on. I think that everything's moving towards this model. And so, you can waste energy trying to fight it, or you can make whatever decision you want for your business. But I think it is moving this direction just because the demand for content is so high. And all these major companies, a lot of them have been running at a loss for a very long time, and they need to get profitable. So they need to figure that out. And if they don't get profitable, they may fold, and that's not good for us either. So as far as the Spotify royalties go, I have felt like I was missing
the Audible
something.
Royalties, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, the Audible royalties. I have felt like I was missing something this whole time. I was like, can no one explain to me why it says I get 25% and then I get 13%. I still to this day do not understand that. I don't understand how they get away with that. So I think that there could be some sort of lawsuit coming down the pipe, because I just need an explanation for how Audible is going to promise me 25% and give me 13%.
I can explain it. I can explain it to you, Claire.
Okay,
I can explain it. I can mansplain it. No, I'm going to explain it.
Just Bryan-splain it.
It is. Okay, I'll Bryan-splain it. Audible has always come from the direction of the traditional publishing world with some of this stuff. And hearing this idea of, oh, it's 40%, but really that's something else. I was like, I've heard this before. And the place I've heard it from is from traditional publishing contracts, there are little addendums here and there, special cases, certain discounts that reduce the actual percentage royalty rate. That is rampant. That is in every single traditional publishing contract, unless someone is like Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson. You're getting a contract that is dropping your royalties. I am certain that if a lawsuit comes, it will not succeed because Amazon has something deep in its Audible contract language that is telling you exactly where to stuff that 40%. And I think that Amazon will win, even though we will be annoyed by it, because it is deep in a contract that was always held very close to the vest by Audible. But I'm guessing that is why this is the way it is.
Okay, well that makes sense legally.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to get away with 13% or even, 21% for much longer because they just have too much competition.
Yeah, I think the same. So, Claire, going back to the ads, do you think this is the hot potato, hot fry, hot, we'll throw some grits in there. Will readers accept ads in their audiobooks? Should there be a choice of pricing plans between the ads, the no ads?
I think that readers will accept the ads in their audiobooks at first. Some readers will. Some will then be annoyed to the point of paying for the subscription because the ads may be very, very annoying. If you have a really sultry narrator and then it sounds like a car salesman, people are going to be like
a Chuck E. Cheese ad.
Right. It's like, yep, whatever you need, I will pay it. I think that there are going to be some people who just can't pay that and they're going to tolerate the ads. We tolerate what we can afford to tolerate. So I think that it's going to be split. There's going to be a nice distribution of people who do, one over the other. And it's all going to shake out the way things always shake out when industries change pay models.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right, Brian, here's a hot tot for you.
Hot tot.
Maybe hot tater tot. Hot tot is... I don't think we want that reputation.
Good point.
If you had the opportunity to advertise in other audiobooks, would you do it? What type of ads would be best for audiobooks?
I got distracted for a sec because my cat's in here.
Oh, no.
So if I had the opportunity to advertise in audiobooks, I would do it if the data showed that I was getting a profit. That's really what it all comes down to. If I ran audio ads and then I saw that my audiobook sales went up more than I spent, I would keep doing it. Now, I think that an ad always needs to be the kind of thing that is going to hook someone in and then give them a call to action. So it could be to download this book with your next credit sort of thing. It needs some kind of call to action. And I think that is the part of these audio ads. Having a hook, people won't mind so much. Having a call to action that says, leave this audiobook and go get my audiobook, that is where people will struggle if that is how the ad works. And so I'm interested to see, but if I had the opportunity, it's just like the Amazon ads for ebooks and paperbacks. I would consider doing it if the numbers said that it was profitable.
I see so many people getting outraged about the first authors in to advertise their book in someone else's book. And I see that that's going to, if that becomes a thing, the first people in it's how dare you advertise your book in the middle of my book? How dare I? Profit. It's legal. I can do what I want. But, I could see that people would get really outraged about that. So that's going to be interesting territory. I'm sure we'll be covering that later this year.
Yeah, I can't wait for the first rage conversation between those two authors. We've got lightning, fire, energy bolts. I don't know what they are, but it's a lightning round. And Claire, will big name authors pushing back against Audible, as folks like Brandon Sanderson have done recently, make enough waves for Amazon to take notice and make changes?
I think that big authors pushing back against Amazon is the only way that we will ever see changes in Amazon or Audible. That is the only way we have ever seen changes. That is the only thing that can push back against them because their government can't really do it. I mean, right. I don't know if you've seen any recent sound bites from our government officials interviewing tech people. It's not pretty. They're not going to be the ones to save us. So it really is going to be from these big heavy hitter authors who want to make change, who are taking their readerships and exposing them. Because I think a lot of people don't realize how much authors are getting shortchanged for stuff. So exposing them to this, pulling back the curtain, showing them the truth, and then saying, hey, if you want my readers, you have to make changes, Amazon. I think it's the only thing that will ever make those changes.
Well said. Well said.
All right, Bryan, what will it take, if anything, for Amazon to make fundamental changes to their audiobook royalties and policies?
Amazon will make fundamental changes to their audiobook royalties and policies if they get sued enough and if, as you just mentioned, Claire, big name authors keep talking about it. They have to keep talking about it. More and more authors who have clout need to keep lending their voice to it. Anything other than that is not going to lead to change. It's not going to be from a change.org petition. There was one going around a while back about people losing their Amazon accounts because of piracy and the people being pirated were getting in trouble. That's still happening despite 30,000 people signing a change.org petition. The only way it's going to happen is through legal channels and through these big name authors. I don't really see any other way.
Agreed.
So, Claire, let's change it up a little bit. How do you research your book ideas to know that they have a better chance of viability?
Okay, first, what do you mean by viability?
Okay, so if sales are an important aspect of this and profitability is in the top 3 reasons for you publishing this particular book, how do you research that it has that opportunity for financial viability?
Okay, so how I research a book idea to make sure that it has viability for profitability, if that is important to me, is I read books that are selling well. But I don't just read books that are selling well. I make sure that they are compatible titles. I make sure that they are indie titles, because when they're traditional titles, if I'm an indie, we have very different marketing budgets. So
Right.
you can, a big traditional publisher can throw a lot of money behind a stinker and get it to the top of the charts. It may not stick there, but that's a different story. So making sure that I'm reading other indie authors' books, noting the tropes, noting the cover. I will make an array of a bunch of covers that are sort of similar and sort of in the same vein of my genre. And I will give that to my cover designer. And I will research titles. I will research all of it, because for me, the packaging, not that important. My ego is not really wrapped up in the packaging. The packaging's purpose for me is to get people to open the book and read page 1. And then that's when the real work starts, in my opinion. So, writing a book that hits the market, but does a little something special on top of it is how I research. But I need to know what the market is. So I need to know what tropes people are expecting. And then I just package it accordingly. I do my best guess after doing all of that research. I browse the charts. I talk to people. I look at other indies, and I make sure that I'm looking at compatible information.
Nice. Yeah. Good ideas. Thank you for sharing.
All right, Bryan, how do you refill your well?
So I refill my well in a couple of different ways. One of the reasons I moved to the South was so that I could walk around in the sunshine about 9 or 10 months a year. I will go out and take a walk. I love when I'm really burned out. I love just finding some flash video game on my computer, just some dumb fantasy kind of thing that I can play, finish, beat, and just be done with. And I will really get a lot of satisfaction out of reading positive comments, positive reviews, setting those aside so I'm not in the midst of that reading negative stuff, because I want to feel that validation. And I think it's okay to want to try to get some extra validation, because this stuff is hard. And sometimes you need to coddle yourself in order to get over any particular challenges you're facing. So
Coddle, yeah. Everyone
Coddle.
needs a little coddling.
Everyone self-coddle. There's nothing wrong with a little like, aw, it's okay. Claire, look, we've got all these gates. Audible gate, KU exclusivity gate, ebook return gate. Should authors take a stand on issues that are important to other authors, or should they leave that to the Brandon Sandersons of the world?
I feel uniquely qualified to talk about whether or not authors should take a stand on issues they care about in the industry, because that is the way that my Enneagram type is programmed. Mm-hmm. We love dying on a hill, but that doesn't mean that dying on every hill is equal. Right. So I think that it's really important before you take a stand to ask yourself why you are taking a stand. If you are doing it because it's easier than writing your books, or it's easier than saying, okay, I want to think of ways to adapt to this thing, or if you're doing it because you just like the sensations and chemicals of a good outrage crusade, then maybe your effort is better spent writing these books. That's why you got into this business, to write books and to sell them. And yes, I know things change and it gets hard, and there is a time to take a stand. But you really have to ask yourself, and you have to get to know yourself first before you can get an honest answer from yourself. But you have to ask yourself if you are doing this for a productive reason or for a distracting reason. Are you moving toward your goal or away from it? Sometimes you do need to put things aside and say, hey, enough is enough. But you got to be realistic too. If we're dealing with these big businesses like Amazon or really any of the retailers, do you have the clout to make a difference? Do you have the connections to get people together to make a difference? If not, you don't have to fight every fight. That's how you get exhausted, and that's how you burn out. So that would be my advice is make sure you're picking the battles that will fill you up and that matter and that you can do something about, and that aren't just a distraction from your main goal.
I love that. It made me think about a book, The Power of Full Engagement, talked about Jimmy Connors versus John McEnroe, two professional tennis players. And McEnroe has the reputation of screaming after every missed call, whereas Jimmy Connors was just kind of like, playing the game. And Connors' career lasted longer. He won more matches compared to McEnroe, because McEnroe wasted a lot of energy on all those disputes, and that led to a reputation, but it also led to just less enjoyment of the thing. And if you waste that energy, you are going to not be as happy in this author life of yours.
Sometimes just pursuing your own joy is a defiant act.
I like that. And our listeners will like this question of the week that we need here. So we're talking about the ads in audio. We're talking about the royalties of Audible folks. What do we want to ask? What do we want to ask here, Claire?
Let's do something fun, because I can see this getting out of control. What about something like, what kind of commercial would you find the most amusing to be in your audiobook?
What would be the most amusing commercial to come up in the middle of your audiobook experience? I love
and
this.
give us the book give us the context with it.
Yeah.
And keep it PG-13 at max.
Yeah. Please. You can answer that question of the week over at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group, or sellmorebookshow.com for episode 471. Claire, I was doing some division, and I believe the show passed the 9-year mark, and we kind of didn't do the math.
Oh, really? Whoops.
Yeah. So we'll just have to save the big one for like 475 or wait until 500. But I think it's been 9 years since this show started.
My goodness. Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time. I was just thinking the other day, I've been here almost 3.5 years at this point.
I know. It's nuts. But
taking you straight through the pandemic with these dulcet tones.
We're going to slow things down for the pandemic here with
for
Claire
3
Taylor.
years.
Oh, man. Well, I'm happy to be doing this show with you, Claire. And I mean, hey, this quiet quitting might get us all the way to 10 years. It's very possible. We'll
and
see.
then the 10-year show will just be me rage quitting.
Yes.
It'll just be
I can't
absolutely burning this down.
I cannot wait for that, but awesome. Well, go check out liberatedwriter.com to see if there are spots remaining. If not, there's always spots available for free in the author challenge starting on today, on the 19th. And yeah, we are just really, really happy to be doing this show for you every week. We will be back with 472 coming up soon. Claire, you got anything else you want to leave people with today?
Nah, it's April. It's beautiful. Go outside.
Love it. Yes, absolutely. Go outside. For Claire, I'm Bryan. Have a great week of book selling, everybody. And we'll be back next week for episode 472. Bye.
Bye.